Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Make Life Less Taxing podcast, the show where we uncover what really creates freedom in life and business, and we'll explore stories of those who've learned how to build wealth with purpose.
Welcome back to the Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Today, I'm joined by Art De La Rosa, founder of Wealthy Dollar, a firm that's helped thousands of clients since 2000 rethink retirement, eliminate debt, and create real financial independence by doing what wealthy people actually do. Art, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Daniel, for having me over. I really appreciate you inviting me. So, a little bit about me. I'm Art De La Rosa. I am a financial planner. I do own my own firm, and we do help clients with financial goals. And I'll be able to, or I would love to, ha- have you listen to what I do and how I do things, so that hopefully helps you too as well.
Perfect. Well, listen, we're going to dive right into that. How did you get started in this business? Like, is it something that you've always been doing, or what was the time where you kind of got into the financial industry?
Well, I started when I went to community college, where I took some accounting classes. My professor, um, told me about accounting and how the industry worked and the potential of making money and things of that nature. So I took more classes, to business classes, to then transfer to USC, where I transferred to the University of Southern California, USC. I was there in the 11th School of Accounting for almost a year or so. I did do an internship with uh, Paramount Pictures. I was
Oh,
assisting the financial planner in in that company, and I got to see a lot of what a financial planner would do and the day-to-day responsibilities. I also got to see how the accountant worked, and the things that he did to be able to uh to do his work. So
yeah.
I immediately realized accounting wasn't for me. I said nope. I think I like the aspect of finance better, and so at that moment I made a decision. So I just my first year I was in the accounting school, then I went into the finance school for 1 year. So I took some financial analysis classes. I took all that had to do with the financial planning um, on a business. So basically that's how I started my career. Then I was also working as a bank teller
Mm.
for a bank. Where I got to see what the financial consultant would do for our clients. It was basically investments. So as soon as I graduated from college, I talked to the financial planner and he brought me in. So it's okay, I'll help you. You help me, and we'll take it from there. So that's how I started my career as a financial planner. So I was doing investments mainly. We were pretty much advising people how to buy a mutual fund, annuities, stocks, bonds. So
Yeah.
I became very, very productive. So I did pretty well. I made a lot of money. Uh, and then I went to trying to do this on my own company.
Mm.
So now the challenge was now to figure out how I'm going to do business when I don't have that big bank name.
You don't have the
Uh,
corporate behind you and the
yeah,
brand, right?
exactly. So then that's where my journey began, and that's pretty much when I said I'm gonna do this on my own and see what happens. So I wrote a book. It's called Wealth Grows When Your Cash Flows, and it's basically a financial plan that allows you to personalize a financial plan.
Mm.
So my intent was to show my clients, hey, I am a financial planner. I know what I'm doing. You can buy the book for $20. You can see if you like it. You want to talk to me, then we can talk about things.
Yeah.
So it did help me quite a bit. Um, But when I went from the working at the bank to being solo, it was totally different because at the bank, I would earn what they call commissions. So if I made an investment or someone made an investment, I would earn commissions from that investment. That's how I got paid. So it did pay handsomely, and I did like it. But one of the things I realized is that I wasn't really like adding value to my clients' well-being, or because I feel like, okay, so you give me $500,000 to invest for you. So even if I double that money, I mean, how much better off are you gonna be? Not just in terms of monetarily, but in your life, your quality of life with your family, things of that nature. So I got to see a lot of people. So, and how they will function within money and all that stuff. And I always found out that there was some sort of disconnection between someone trying to save money versus someone spending it. So
Mm.
it was always that issue. So when I went solo, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna charge by commissions. I'm gonna just, if you need to hire me for an hour, 2 hours, I charge $180 an hour, and that's it. But I will give you the advice you need, regardless of what your investable assets were. So if you had 2 million, great, you pay me by the hour. If
Mm.
you have no money, you still pay me by the hour. So, but the whole idea, I wanted to remove myself from making or recommending investments, because it's human nature, so we want to be profitable, and so I wanted to remove myself from that. So that I did. Now, once I was solo, um, I realized that even if I help someone create a plan, which would take me 10, 15 hours, we're talking a comprehensive financial plan. Um, the plan will not do well, no match, because the client will not execute it.
Mm.
So now that was another issue where I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to be as objective as possible, and I'm trying to save you money. I'm just trying to give you the advice you need so you can apply it, but it wouldn't work. And that, from a business standpoint, is not a good thing, because I wasn't creating that client, that repeat client that I wanted to always come back to me for advice and things of that nature, because they'll be thinking, "Oh, I gotta pay uh, money every time I talk to this guy." But that was the nature. So I said, well, okay, you know what? This part doesn't even work as well. So what I did is, I continued my practice, but then I went into uh, a pension fund. A pension fund, basically California state employees have a pension. So I
Yeah.
became one of the senior retirement specialists uh, for CalPERS, and I did very well. I was paid a salary, so I got to teach people about financial planning, about the pension, and the things that they need to understand before retirement. So I did retire thousands of people. Uh, while I was there, for about 8 years, a little more over 8 years.
Mm.
So I would teach classes uh, about retirement. Um, I would go to the actual location. For instance, I went to universities where I taught retirement planning, and I will have teachers, administrators, even cafeteria workers. I mean, all the staff. Uh, it was part of the people that I was training in terms of retirement planning. So I got to see that aspect too. So that gave me a lot of information, and it gave me that knowledge and the confidence to speak more about financial planning. So now, um, to the present, basically, my goal is to always or empower people to achieve financial freedom. When we achieve when the goal is financial freedom, we're talking about not just what you're gonna do after you retire. We're gonna talk about debt. We're gonna talk about college planning, retirement. We want to buy a house. We want to start a business. So for everything you want to do, and if you want to achieve financial freedom, I realize that we have to talk about everything. So now the process or the goal that I have for my client is we're going to start with the goal of achieving financial freedom. So once we have that goal, every decision we make now is going to be geared towards achieving that financial freedom goal. And that's how I set up my business. Now it's a lot more engaging. I engage them more. We
Yeah.
talk more. We spend more time, and it works better.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You've just mentioned something like, you know what? We talk on this show a lot about freedom. I mean, kind of the part of the movement that I'm doing is, uh, is make life less taxing, right? How do you go and create more freedom from that perspective? Also, we talk about this whole concept, keep what is yours and break free from the traditional financial system. So when you talk about freedom, obviously, and you just mentioned that, it's not just financial freedom. And I often tell when I speak with advisors and individuals, that tell them, the financial business is never really about the money. It's never about the finance. It's all of the other things, because nobody wants just to have the money. They want what the money is going to give them. So can you tell us a little bit more about what that means for you? Like when you're talking about the freedom, outside of that financial freedom, what are the other freedoms, or what are the things that you actually talk to your clients about?
Well, financial freedom in the way I approach financial freedom is the ability to have your resources, which is energy, time, and money. And because we have limited resources, we have to effectively allocate our resources. So if the goal is financial freedom, I mean, uh, I have this definition of financial freedom. Well, basically, it's not just about having enough assets to be able to pay for your expenses on a day-to-day basis. So it's to achieve true financial freedom is not just about the money. It's actually your spiritual life has to play a big factor in all your goals. So as a matter of fact, when I talk about financial freedom, I also talk to my clients about the spiritual life, because without that, it is absolutely impossible to achieve that. Because there's always, when we make decisions every day, we're not thinking financial freedom. We're just thinking, yeah, I'm gonna need this, I'm gonna spend it, and that's it. But uh, in my case, basically, if you bring in God into the plan and you are following the decisions that I help you make between your spiritual life and the decisions I make, should give you financial freedom. Now, financial freedom, once again, is not just about money, having money to pay your bills. It's about how you feel on a day-to-day basis, your quality of life.
Mm.
You can have debt. You can have goals that you haven't accomplished. But without God, uh, you have to wait until whenever that happens, and if you make money or if you don't make enough. But when you introduce God into the picture, now it all changes, because now the source of our income is not going to be from our jobs. It's going to be from serving the Lord.
Mm.
When you serve the Lord, basically you are allowing God to help you. And when God's helping you, automatically you start feeling that freedom of doing things like uh, just in general.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
it, it, it's
I
it,
often tell people, the two most important days in your life is the day you're born, and then the day that you discover why. And one of my missions, keep what is yours and break free from the traditional financial systems or educational system and all this that I talk about. It's exactly that. I'm after, when we talk about freedom, uh, in my business and what I teach advisors, is the freedom that they can get where they do the work that they were created for, like the work that they love, where it doesn't even feel like work. And I feel like this is kind of your mission, what you're doing right now with the experience that you have, and choosing the people that you work with. Like, you know what, if there are some clients that you don't like to work with, don't work with them. Like, you're not forced to go and do it, right? Because again, it's, might as well be happy doing what you're doing, and then have the freedom of time and the freedom of location, right? And I look at those four freedoms, kind of the lead indicators for the lag indicator, which is the money you're going to make, because I do believe, and what you're mentioning is like when you align yourself with the purpose why God created you and why you're here on this earth, right? The money that you're going to get is not necessarily coming from your clients. The money you're getting is coming from God, because He's basically giving you the resources for you doing the things that He created you to do.
Correct.
Right?
You know,
So,
and I guess to explain a little bit more is you can have $1 million in the bank account. But if your decisions are not aligned to God's principles, even though you have $1 million, you don't feel financial free because you're not doing the needed part of it to have that contentment, because it's about being content with what you have. You can have 100,000 and have bills to pay and still feel financial free, still feel that freedom that you want. So it's I often talk to clients when they have a lot of debt, they're overwhelmed, and and I'm like, okay, so we set up a plan that's in 5 years you pay off the debt, and that's fine. I mean, what's that gonna do? But I don't want you to just focus on paying off that debt right now. It's gonna take 5 years. We're gonna start working on your spiritual life as well. I'm not a pastor. I'm not any type of uh, religious leader. However, I know the Bible really well, and I guide my clients in terms of all the things that we find in the Bible, and the things that we need to take into account when we face a situation. So it's a matter of understanding where God is in all this, and allow Him to help us so that we can not just only achieve financial freedom,
yeah,
but also be happy, have health, good health,
yeah,
the freedom to make decisions, the love that you feel for your loved ones, the way you help your clients. Honestly, in my case, one of my criteria is to bring a client on board is if they allow me to work with them with the intent of also uh, um, helping them understand the spiritual part of their lives. I believe with all my heart that with God, everything is possible, and it's just about perspective. And
yeah,
a lot of people don't pursue that route, but essentially it is what's needed to do anything in your life.
yeah,
Your financial life is somehow attached to that, and if we don't address that, like I said, uh, they might not feel that I'm helping because we're just talking about numbers. It's not just the numbers. It's every decision that you make every day has a meaning, and that is why the book that I created. I asked everybody to do a 5-minute financial planning workout every day, and I have a video, 20-minute video where I detail that strategy. But the whole concept of that is to say, okay, you spend this money. If you follow that road in 10 years, this is what's going to be. But now, right now, if we switch your spending habits into something that produces more for you in 5 years, not only are you going to accomplish your goal, but now you're going to be richer because now you have things, you have God inside you. You have the Holy Spirit guiding you and teaching you how to make those decisions. So um, you're not gonna achieve all you want unless you put God first in all this.
yeah.
There are people that talk about budgeting and all those strategies, but once again, all that is great. However, um, without God is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're mentioning is, when it comes down to numbers, and you mentioned, hey, if somebody's got $1 million in their bank account, but they don't have the internal peace, right? Knowing God and knowing why they're here, and that they're working on purpose, having $1 million has really no meaning. It just a number, or it's just there, and it will not be satisfying.
Mhm.
So, what you're bringing the point is really important, is having that eternal peace and having that freedom of knowing that, yeah, you are here, you've been created on purpose and for purpose. And really, most people, unfortunately, I don't know if you've heard the saying, I like using it, saying like, most people, they die at the age of 25. They just don't get buried until 75, right?
Yes.
Because they just keep on doing the same thing over and over again, not just in their life, but with their finances in all of the areas, right? So when they come back to and they really find out what the purpose is and why they do what they do, especially when you bring money into it, is incredibly important, right?
Yes. And, once again, I'm not a religious leader. However, I know the Bible very well. And I have about 20 articles on on my website where you can look into, and I explain to you all the basic principles that you need to be aware of how God works and what He expects from us. So all my work that I've done, I always include God into the picture because that is, to me, as a financial planner, gives me that ability to to have that confidence that I am helping my client. And
Yeah.
that's ultimately what I want. Because if I help this client really well and is happy, most likely I'm going to be getting referrals from that client. So
Yeah.
once again, I only pick the ones that I feel it's going to be a success in terms of helping them. But now that doesn't mean I cannot help them because my website, I have lots of information and everything that's on my website is all free. I don't hide any information. I'm not asking you to buy anything. As a matter of fact, the book that I wrote, I converted it into an ebook. So now you don't even pay for that book. It's all there. So you can download that. You can read the articles that I have. I have financial articles. I have videos. I have uh, spiritual videos, spiritual articles. So I have included a lot of information for someone to go in there, set a plan. The plan is there, and then just follow it. Now,
Yeah.
if the client, after going through all that, if they say, I need help with this, I'm going to call Art. Then I have also a fee structure where you can see if you want to hire me. If not, that's okay. But once again, the purpose of me creating this was not to make money. It was more to educate people. It was more for people to have a way to reference. I talk about spiritual life, financial, and all the stuff that needs to be done. And once again, this is a 20-year process that it took 20 years for me to get to this point today. I experienced a lot of issues, but one of the things, and why is the reason why I talk about God all the time, is because I found Jesus. And that's when I realized that no matter what I did without him, my clients were not gonna be loyal to me. You know, but the point is that um, by knowing God and understanding Him, everything changed. My practice, the way I do business, the way I talk to clients. Um, God blesses me many other ways. So I'm able to provide all these services for free. And once again, you don't even need to give me your email address. I think just go there, um, follow the process that I offer. And, you pretty much can do all you need to do, free of charge.
Yeah. So when someone first comes to you, what are they usually kind of dealing with? What are kind of the most common challenges that you see when you start working with somebody?
Yeah. So the main thing is taxes. So I do get a lot of clients that want to figure out how to save money in taxes. That's usually the the, the thing that they
Well,
they
I've
want to
never
know,
heard anybody that says I'm happy to pay more.
right?
Everybody always wants to make pay less, no matter what level they're in, right? So
Right.
yeah,
So I would say, well, I understand that's your goal. Now I can help you with that. But in order for us to talk about how to save taxes, I need to know your information. I need to know what the assets you have, the debts you have, so that we can strategize your taxes. I mean, if you
yeah,
have a business, are you taking advantage of tax strategies to reduce your income? What kind of corporation do you have if you have a business? an S corporation, a regular corporation, in terms of personal taxes. I mean, now you own a house, you can um, itemize your taxes, but now with the standard deduction, which is so high that even just itemize it doesn't even help in any way, because you just take the maximum standard deduction and you pretty much, that's all you do. So the idea is to help them understand how taxes work, uh, and based on the situation of the client, then I approach that client from that angle, and then we talk
Right.
about everything else. Like, if you worry about taxes now, when you retire, you still gotta pay taxes. So now you have all this money in this tax deferred account. At the time you pull the money out, yeah, you gotta pay taxes on all that. So that's why when it comes to all that, the plan that I offer for free is pretty much, I feel that that's the basis for all the things that I do. Because if you don't take care of your money now, let's say you don't do the 5-minute financial planning that I asked you to do, you spend money, which means that if you are retiring and you start pulling money out of your retirement accounts, every time you pull money out of those accounts, you have to pay taxes. So now that's costing you more money. But now we control what your your behavior right now, and we'll give you an outlook. We'll give you, okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? So that way we can plan for all the expenses you're going to have. And then we can then calculate what the tax liability will be at that point. But I basically, what I call is your lifestyle. So you know, if you need $5,000 every month to draw out of your account, what's the tax consequence at that point? Now, can we do that at that point? Yes. But now you got to remember, if you do more than that, you're going to pay more taxes. So it's a comprehensive plan that covers, it's not just the immediate taxes, it's actually future taxes that they have to pay. Many instances, I tell my clients, stop putting more money into tax deferred accounts, because by the time you retire, you're gonna be paying all these taxes, and it really, you know, um, so a lot of the time is just coaching the client, and I help them understand taxes. They just focus, oh, I pay too much taxes, so how do I reduce that? But it's not an easy thing. It's a process, and we have to look at how they use their money, their assets, and where they're taking money from, and things of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah. So, listen, what are some of the, when you're speaking with people, what are some of the financial myths or beliefs that people grew up with that are really costing them, time, peace, and opportunity? Are there some that you constantly see, kind of, I would call it misinformation, because the, traditional financial system operates in a certain way, and often, it operates in a way that's not really helpful for the clients.
Mhm. Well, that's a good question, and I'm gonna bring you back to retirement. As I mentioned, the Bible doesn't talk about retirement. I mean, as a matter of fact, God wants us to work, until we're able to work. And so retirement should not be the goal. The freedom should be the goal. And one of the myths is you don't have to save a lot of money so that when you retire, you have money to live off of. But that's a misconception, because once again, the Bible doesn't talk about that. But here's the bottom line: if you have a spiritual life right now, at this moment in your life, meaning you follow God, meaning you have a relationship with God, strong relationship with God, and He's taking care of you right now. Okay, what do you think that when you're 90, He's gonna say, "Well, okay, you're 90 now. I'm gonna stop helping you." So that's it. No, He's still gonna help you. If you have a relationship with Him right now, when you're 90, you're still gonna have that relationship. And guess what? He's gonna be there. He's gonna help you. He's gonna tell you what you need to do. That's where your spiritual life kicks in, because you have to have that faith, that trust that God is there. Now, here's the thing: most advisors will not talk about clients this way, because basically we make our money off of retirement planning, and we still have to do that. because not everybody has the same intensity in terms of a spiritual life. But we still have to do that. But the bottom line is that rather than stressing out how are you gonna make money to save so you can retire and all the money that you need, why don't you just focus on your spiritual life now, so that in 20 years you have God in you. I mean, the Holy Spirit lives in you, and He'll guide you. He'll give you what you need, and you'll be fine. And it's something that's not easy for people to take, because once again, it requires faith. It requires a strong relationship with God. So the bottom line is, even if a client doesn't have any money to retire on, if they have a relationship with God, God will take care of their needs. And like I said, all it requires is for you to trust. So planning for retirement is important. I mean, you do have to plan, you have to understand. But also, once again, if you truly want to retire, you truly want to be happy every day, a relationship with God is what you need. And once again, you do have to have some financial fundamentals that you have to apply, because you have to be a financial steward. That's what the Bible talks about. But also, you have to also know that God is there. He does say, God says, do not store treasures on earth, but do treasures in heaven. Where basically, all the money, all the investments that you want to have. I mean, that's good if you have it, but if you don't have it, hey, God's still there. I mean, the reality is that my belief is that if we have a relationship with God, there's nothing else for us to worry about. I think everything will fall into place. Uh, once again, it all depends on the intensity. It all depends on how strong that relationship is. And that's why I ask my clients, start now, because the sooner you start, the better, and the better you're gonna feel, and your outlook in your life is gonna be way much better in the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I think, as you're talking about this, a lot of that stuff is a little bit counterintuitive, right? Like what you're saying from the perspective of it's not taught in the mainstream media, especially when it comes around finances, right? Now, you've created a lot of, a whole playbook of strategies that mirror what wealthy people do and actually what really the Bible teaches, because when you look at a lot of the principles that wealthy people follow, they're all pretty well they are biblical based, all right? Because they're kind of principles, call them the first principle, kind of like gravity, right? Like gravity is a principle that works. It doesn't matter if you're fat, short, slim, tall, whatever it is. You go on top of a building and you walk off of it, you're only going one way. You're not going to spread wings and suddenly fly away, right? Same way when we're talking about some of these principles. Why do you think that a lot of those principles aren't widely taught, especially in the financial industry? Because I call myself a recovering CFP. One of the reasons why I exited, because after 20 years in the industry, I realized they weren't teaching me how to help people. They were teaching me how to sell more of their products. And like when I discovered that, I said, I don't want anything to do with that. And I kind of exited out of the industry. So why do you think that a lot of those really first principles, biblical principles, but really sound financial principles are not widely taught?
Mhm. In my practice, I don't sell investments. If someone needs help, they pay me by the hour or by the plan. But why is not being taught, or the financial industry um, do not they don't change in the way they advise clients, because they're they're they focus on the income that they're going to generate from the client to the firm. Um, because if they all start offering what I offer, they will not be making any money. I mean, I said, back in 2000, when I started my career, uh, like if I had a client that invested $1 million with me, 5% of that, which is 50,000, will be income. And that's what the firms want. They don't want you to be preaching or saying that, hey, really want retirement. You don't need to have all the money that an advisor tells you to have, because basically you just need to have a strong relationship with God, because He will give you all what you need. And my personal example, I'm not charging anything for this, but God gave me another business that where my wife and I generate enough income in order for us to afford to do this, because God took care of that. So once again, depending on your relationship with God, this is all you need to have success in your life. You don't need investments. You don't need any of that stuff. You just need to make good financial decisions every day, with following a plan, understanding taxes, understanding everything else. When someone invests money in the stock market, that's something that advisors use to charge commissions. And once again, the firms don't make money off of providing information the way I do it. They make it off from the investments they sell. And that's why it's a conflict of interest. That is the main reason why I left the industry. I have my own company, my own little company, but it lets me sleep every night. I have good quality clients, long-term clients, and that's all I need. Now I have ambitious goals as well. This is just not gonna stop here. As I continue with my work and the things that I do and how I approach things, God blesses me even more.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and
you've just mentioned something. You got ambitious goals. So, what is the next thing, or is there a project that you're working on? What's kind of the next thing that you're working on?
well, like I said, right now, it took about 20 years for me to develop this whole process. So right now, it's going to be about reaching out. It's about you know exposing what I have and what I have worked on. Um, so how am I going to do that? Once again, and this is, like I said, once you understand those principles, everything goes back to God.
Mm,
Because if I want to increase my clients right now, more clients, what most people would do is put ads on the newspaper. They will pay for uh, marketing strategies. I mean, you have to make an investment to uh, uh, to be able to get more clients.
yeah.
Okay, so that's the traditional way. But once again, once you have a strong relationship with God and you're following what He's asking you to follow, everything else is gonna come to you. It's a quote, a verse that says, uh, do not lean on your own understanding. Just listen to me, follow me, and everything else will be fine. The other one is the one that says, He knows what you want, He knows what you need, but you have to first seek Him, uh, and then everything else will be added on to you. So, like I said, what, even with my investments, I don't even try to invest money on ads or increasing my clients that way, because once again, it's a totally different aspect. But God brings me those clients that I want to work with,
Mm,
and it's always the case where I don't need to worry about anything. And once again, I know it may sound too ideal, but once again, my goal in life is moving forward is to educate more people about how to make decisions by following God's principles. And the whole idea is that it allows you to sleep better. It allows you to not make risky decisions. It allows you to always make the decisions according to how God works.
mm,
Um, and once again, it's a new way of life. And like I said, to me, it's ideal to me. It took me 20 years to get to this point, but I always say let's say I have another 25 more years to live. I'm going to create those clients. I'm going to advise those clients to go this route. And my whole point is to help anyone. And by the way, with my model, you don't need to have $1 million to invest in order for it to be my client. You don't need any amount to invest to have to be able to be my client. Once
Mm.
again, first, everything I offer is free unless you have specific needs, you have specific plan that you want, which I already detailed on my website. Then you can at that point pay for it. But right now, a lot of the times I get a lot of visitors to my site. But once again, I don't know who they are, because the idea is, this God is very generous, and He gives us very much with all the business. So this is something like that. I do this because I love it. It's my mission
Yeah, it's
to
like we were
share.
talking about. You're working on purpose, right?
Yeah,
We
and
were created
and
for
that's
purpose,
my
and
yeah,
yeah,
and that's my thing. It's like the minute I start bringing in, uh, um, like let's say I want to make money, you know, things don't work that way. So basically, uh, my goal is, the Bible is there for all of us. If you just understand the Bible, you can be very profitable. You can have everything you want.
Mm.
And that's as simple as you can get. You read the Bible, you understand it. You see the richness we have. You see all the things that God gave us, and His promises and all the things
yeah,
that He offers. If you just have the Bible, understand it, that's all you need.
yeah.
Unfortunately, once again, the financial service industry doesn't teach that because they don't make any money that way. And that
Yeah,
is the
they
main
don't
thing.
teach the first, what I call the first principles, that they don't teach around that. So listen, as we're coming through the close of the podcast, I've got 4 questions. I call them rapid fire questions. Maybe you have already answered this question, but we'll see. Maybe there is another. Is there a favorite book that really shaped your thinking?
You know, the Bible.
That is the number
Like,
one
you
answer to
know,
this question. So that's why I'm
you
already
know what?
asking. You know,
You know what? I used to be the one that, read this, read that. But you know what? Um, the Bible is an actual living um, book, because you guide you through the whole process. And
yeah,
um, whether it's family related, business, employment, I mean, anything you want to know, it's there. Okay. And what I like about the Bible is when you read it, you're not just reading it. The Holy Spirit is giving you that um that information that you need to take in and to understand it. So they have the Holy Spirit guiding you, helping you
yeah,
read the Bible. And it becomes a living book where there's always something new to learn. I mean, I've read it so many times, but
yeah.
every time I read it, there's something new.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it
the
can be,
Bible doesn't
yeah,
change, but you do, and you have a deeper understanding because you're growing, right?
yes.
So, is there a morning routine or a habit that you can't live without?
Well, yes. And, y- I often tell people, I tell these things not because I want you to know that I'm holy, but I tell you all these things, and I love doing these things because um, that's my joy right now,
Mm.
the Bible. And the habit is um, in the morning, me and my wife, before we come into work. By the way, she and I have a business that's lucrative. We work together, we do everything together. So in the mornings, we wake up at 5 o'clock. We listen to sermons.
Mm.
Throughout the day, we pray. At 9, for about an hour, we read the Bible. So we have a specific time for our spiritual life. And that habit, it's not a habit, it's actually an enjoyment. And I cannot be without that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
absolutely not, because, every day you have a chance to be better. Every day, you know, um, it's never boring. I mean, life is actually beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you choose it to be, and I think
yeah,
that's the point
yeah.
that you're
But see that
looking to get into.
habit, yeah, that
Yeah.
habit of reading the Bible and understanding it and really grasping the concept. This is just
Yeah.
such an amazing thing. And like I said, every single day, even if we listen to the same podcast or whatever we listen or read, the same thing. It's
Yeah.
always going back to that. And
Yeah.
that,
No,
that
that's
is,
awesome.
mhm.
Listen, that's also the number one answer to that question, to the second one. So I'm just mentally keeping track of it now. Is there one bucket list item that you haven't done yet?
um, yeah, I think I'd like to go to Rome,
Mm,
visit. Uh, I want to learn a little more about, the just about God, and I want to see the lifestyle over there. And I haven't done any of that because, once again, when you follow a plan, uh, my our goal was first to send the kids to college, and that wasn't cheap.
mm.
So we focus on that. Now they're almost done with college, so uh, now we have our business. So now
Yeah, yeah,
all the and my wife pretty young, 55 years old. Um, so we have a few years ahead, but once again, when you have a plan and you follow it,
yeah.
and you don't act, you know,
Well,
irrational,
you
then
need a guide. You need to know where you're going,
yes,
and you need to go and
yes,
plan for everything, right? I think most
yes,
people are just kind of flying by the seat of their pants most of the times, and then they're
yes,
wondering, how come I'm not getting what I want?
yes,
Right? So,
yes,
you know what? If you don't focus on, like what you focus on will expand, right? So, like, you need to have that plan, right?
yeah.
So, is there a surprising hobby or interest that kind of gives you more energy, that recharges you?
Um, well, just as a father, uh, I feel that my responsibility is to bring my kids to God, to
Mm,
also lead them to following God.
yeah.
Um, so it's about that. Just I guess.
Spending time with the family is an excellent way of, again, I mean, it's our God-given responsibility, right, to bring up our kids in the way of the Lord,
Mhm.
teach them and show them how they, how they need to live so that they can go and take care of themselves. So, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so
that's
yeah, so that I feel that that's our
yeah,
responsibility. So my kids, I see them as a blessing. Once again, once you start understanding why God says things, you start realizing like He gave me two beautiful girls.
mm,
Okay, so it's not just to give them money or raise them. So actually teaching them things like, my 21-year-old is like so attached to God, and she prays and she does all these wonderful things. But the idea is not only that, in a school, she's gonna do her PhD in biology, and it's all paid for and stuff by the school. But the point is, it's not, it's you say, if you do things and God's there, He helps you with everything else.
yeah,
And one example is I always told my kids, it's going to cost me $400,000 to send you both to college, but you know what? I'm going to do it because that's what I want to give you,
yeah,
an education, uh, and I'm very happy to do that. But now what happened is that, things changed, but now they're still graduating, but they got better grades, more opportunities. So it's like that 400,000 is not really going to be 400,000, going to be 100,000. So the idea is that you plan your goal, you sit on it, you make decisions based on that. And then God comes in and helps you, at the end of the day.
no,
And that's even
no,
better. It's even better. So that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. It's not really, if I just focus on how much I'm gonna need to send my kids, 400,000, how am I gonna save that money? Well, where's it gonna come from? How?
yeah.
Once again, if you have a relationship with God, you have a strong relationship with Him, guess what? Everything falls into play. And there's nothing else for you to worry about.
100%. Well, I've got one last question. Fast forward to the end of your life and imagine that everyone forgot everything that you ever taught them or showed them, but they will remember one message from you. What would you want that one message to be?
One word: faith.
Awesome.
Faith should be, when you wake up, that should be the first thing you should have in mind. So every day you can increase your faith. And the stronger your faith is in God, the better off you will be. I mean, that is my answer. Faith.
No, that's perfect. And listen, often we got very similar messages to that. Wow, Art, what a powerful and perspective shifting conversation. Thank you again for sharing your journey, sharing about God. Where can people find out more about you and the work that you do?
My website's address is www.wealthydollar.com. All the information I share with you today is there. Everything is there. It's all free. It's a free resource. If you have, questions, like, you can always reach out to me. But once again, I select the clients I work with because I want to improve the quality of life, and one client at a time is how I do it. Now, there's a lot of information that I come up with all the time. So if you sign up for emails and stuff, I'll be more than happy to share that with you.
Perfect. So if you're listening, be sure to check out the wealthydollar.com. We will also have links in the show notes. Art, thank you again for your time and for your message. And remember, making life less taxing isn't just about money. It's about freedom, clarity, and purpose. Keep building wealth, keep protecting your legacy, and keep living the untaxable lifestyle. We'll see you next time on the Make Life Less Taxing. Art, thank you again. It was a great conversation that we had.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Be sure to check out our other top advisor interviews at makelifilesstaxingpodcast.com.